Hello, and welcome to today's issue of Chapter by Chapter for Eye of the World. I am your host, as always, Will Cowan, and with me, as always, is Mr. Steve Haynes. Steve Haynes, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Hopefully, my voice isn't as raspy as it was in a couple of episodes, but we're getting through it. I got a beer with me now, so things are
Beer
gonna
on
get
a
weird.
Wednesday.
Things are gonna get weird. Let me tell you. Yes. Today, we're diving into Chapter 13, Choices. And this is it's it's kind of an ominous. I don't even know what the choice is in this chapter. Choices. Are you listening to the audiobook?
I am for some chapters.
Did you listen to it for this book chapter?
No.
Because that's kind of exactly how the narrator says it. He says it very dramatically like that. Choices.
Well, the choices are dramatic, Will.
What are the choices? Well, let's get into it. So following the conversation that Moraine and Egwene had in the last chapter, where Egwene basically is ready. She's got the touch. She can touch
Moraine
the power.
Told her that she is incredibly gifted with the one power. It's inherently in her, born with it. She might one day become the queen of all the wizards.
Yeah. She will rise to the Amerlin's seat, which is pretty high praise. But we honestly don't know anything about Moraine right now. So we know what the Amerlin seat is because we looked it up in the glossary. But as far as these kids know, could be a toilet.
It could be a toilet.
I mean, maybe the glossary is lying to us. It's just like it's going to be a ruse over our eyes, and by the time we get to it in book 5, it's like it's an outhouse. There's the Amerlin seat, dipshit.
That'd be a good twist.
That'd be probably really awesome. So picking up after that conversation, they wake up the following morning, and Moraine does her healing thing, but not with the horses this time, with all of them.
This time it's a party refresh.
Yeah, it's a party refresh, giving them, like Land says, it's a extra night's sleep, something like that.
It's like a 5-hour energy.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like 5-hour energies.
Yeah, and just like injected into you. Just there you go, ready to rock. So this chapter kind of takes place over a couple of days. It's not actually like in the last few chapters where everything's kind of happened at the same time. Like the last few chapters have been kind of like
20 minutes, like short spans.
Yeah, like it's all taking place in relatively the same time frame, and if it switches to another day or something like that, you're kind of following up on that day. Like the chapter closes with them going to sleep, and the next chapter is them waking up, that sort of thing, like it follows very closely. But this chapter is the first chapter that's kind of stretching that a little bit more, which you would have to at some point, because if you explain it, not everything can be explained and can be an event. Like you can't explain every single footstep that they take to Baerlon.
Mm-hmm.
So over the course of these few days, the Gleeman tells some cool stories. Gets there and plays some loot. He gets he rolls some good loots, and then Lan also kind of teaches them a little bit more about fighting.
He teaches them how to use their weapons to be a little bit more proficient with each of them. They're all good with a bow, it turns out.
Yeah, because Rand is I think there's a part in the book where, or a part in this chapter where they're explaining how Rand is able to like hit a target and like in the same spot over and over and over again. They're
Yeah, they all do pretty good with the bows, even though like Matt is the one who kind of has the bow as his weapon.
Yeah,
and then Perrin has the axe, and Rand has the sword.
Yep. And meanwhile, while that's happening, Egwene is kind of studying under Moraine's wing for Aes Sedai stuff, and that all culminates in this conversation that Egwene and Rand have. So
yeah, which sort of begins with her taking her braids out of her hair.
Yeah, so
And
in
Rand watching and asking, why are you doing that? And she's
yeah,
like, I'm an Aes Sedai now. I don't know if you've heard, but they don't wear their hair like this.
I'm a big deal. I've been
Yeah.
telling you guys since we started this whole trip. I'm a big deal.
It's a big deal. Now you can tell by my hair.
Isn't braiding kind of a like it's a traditional thing in the Two Rivers, like to braid your hair?
Yeah, like they have to, right?
Yeah, or
Like
it's
girls
like
have to have braids.
yeah. I think it's like a cultural thing. So like the
And
fact
she
that
says that like the Aes Sedai can braid their hair, but it would be a choice.
yeah, exactly. And so she's unbraiding her hair, and Rand's like, "Oh, what are you doing there?"
Yeah.
And that are like when Egwene says that she's an Aes Sedai, Rand kind of goes like, "No, you're not."
Well, you got to remember too that the Aes Sedai are not viewed very positively by most people.
That's true. Yeah. So
So
it's
one of your
probably
friends tells you that, you are gonna say no, you're not.
yeah,
Won't believe
because
it.
you want you want to protect your friend or however you want to see that because like that's your friend. You don't want them to be like looked at as like a weirdo or
Well, and it's
cast out
even
by
like he's
society.
known her, so why he doesn't, it doesn't make sense that she would just now be an Aes Sedai.
But I get it from her point of view
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
she's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? But it's it's interesting kind of this dynamic because there's another point in this chapter where um the boys, I'm gonna just go with the boys, they're talking about like why don't like it looks like we've lost the Trollocs, like we're not being pursued anymore, why don't we go to Camelin, let's go to Ilion, let's go to these other cities, let's go to all these places that we've only heard about. And specifically Matt says like let's go to Camelin or like something like that because there's less Aes Sedai there. And Moraine shows up right behind him. She's like, how dare you?
She's like, "What did you say? You said Aes Sedai?"
The fuck you just say? Listen here, boy. And this is a good point for her. Kind of like it shows her kind of intentions a little bit, where
Mm-hmm.
she's like, "Have you guys all forgot Winter Night, the attack, the Trolloc attack? Have you all forgotten about that? Like, we're here for a purpose right now, and you guys are kind of treating this as like a game, you know? Oh, and you're also kind of like bitching and complaining about being tired and yada yada yada, and like get over it.
Yeah, don't you realize that they are hunting us and
They're
that this
hunting
shit
us."
is real?
And she says a line here that really reveals her kind of intention. She's like, "Trust me when I don't know the exact line. She's like, "Trust me when I say though, if there's a chance that the Trollocs were going to get you, I would destroy you before they would." So it's like
Which I guess is reassuring. Well, I mean, I don't know.
I
Doesn't
mean,
really help that much.
depends on who you're talking to, really. But yeah, that she's like, it shows that she's so committed to this mission or whatever they're doing that she's willing to sacrifice these people because they must be a key to this battle
Well,
or
yeah,
to
it
this
still does
war.
seem there's things she knows that she's not
Mhm.
letting on. And but yeah, just she knows. Bottom line is she knows the Dark One is after them.
Yeah. So backtracking a little bit back to the Egwene, Moraine,
And
sort
Egwene.
of Egwene Moraine. Egwene, this is this part. Those specific names are going to be hard for me to.
I know, and they're always doing things with each other.
Yeah,
But Egwene and Moraine are going away. Basically, they're having lots of talks.
they're kind of Egwene is studying under Moraine, and there's this conversation they have, and this is kind of leading to an addendum that I have to
Addendum.
addendum that I have to make right now because I believe I talked about it in the last chapter, this last episode, was the conversation that Egwene and Moraine had about the kind of the gender, the duality of the one source. That conversation didn't happen in that last chapter. It happens in this chapter, and it gets into a little bit more about like the types of powers that people you can draw on, and whether females can draw on that power or males can draw on that power. And they start talking about the five elements, or the five
powers.
The five powers, which is earth, wind, and fire.
Yep, but not the band.
Well, we don't know that.
But it might be the band.
It might be the band. Do you remember? That would be great when they're fighting, and then Earth, Wind, and Fire just rises out of the ground and just starts playing funk, and everybody starts dancing unwillingly.
If only.
If only. Those five powers, and that men can kind of draw on those powers like fire and earth, while women draw on powers of like water and spirit. So like you can kind of like guess which ones are women powers and male powers. Kind of sexist, but at the same time, Moraine makes a point that like Egwene's like, why does the men get all the powerful powers? Because like fire is powerful and earth is powerful. Why do they get that and we don't? And Egwene's like, or Moraine's like, well, if you think about it, is there no stone that can be worn down by water given enough time? Is there no flame that water can't extinguish? So really, who has the stronger power here?
That's right.
Who's got it? Who's got that
That's
strong
right,
power?
Yeah, so as she's telling this and explaining the powers and male and female, Egwene is concerned whether or not, if all female Aes Sedai are evil. Or if the men were all evil. It's a whole thing. The men have sort of become evil.
Yeah, they're not. Moraine kind of says like they're not evil per se. They're driven insane by the taint of the one power that they draw on, the male version of the one power that they draw on. And yes. Let me tell you, Steve, if I had to touch a taint, I'd go insane.
They're touching that taint.
Nobody touching that taint.
And it does drive them insane.
I didn't ask for that taint. And that pretty much that leads up to them kind of they kind of rise up over a mountain or a hill and they see Baerlon for the first time. And they couldn't believe none of these kids have ever seen a city before, and they're all just like, "Whoa."
And this is like a city.
This is a city.
Yeah.
There's no thatched roofs.
Nothing like Emmons Field or anything they've seen. Yeah, no thatched roofs.
There's stone everywhere. There's people going in and out, yada yada yada. And they go down to the front gate, and they start talking to the gatekeeper. I believe his name is Avon.
Yeah, Avon.
And they're like, "Hello!" And Avon pokes his head around the corner. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, did you mention that also, like, upon arriving here, Moraine tells them that they go by different names here?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna get to. Is they start talking to them. Because she has a conversation with the rest of the group, going like, here.
She tells them, she's like, "All right, this is big. This is a big city. Yeah. You guys got to keep a low profile, play cool." Oh yeah. Yep. They also, we have different names here. What are their names? Do you have their names?
Yeah, that's Mistress Alice for Moraine, and then Master Andra for Lan. And they're like, yeah, you got to keep to these names. Nobody should know that we're here, and nobody should know that I'm Aes Sedai. They go down to the front gate and they start talking to Avon, who's met them before. They've obviously passed through the city before, and he's like super grateful to them. They're just like, he's just like, "Hey, hello, how's it going?" And they give him more money so they can come in. And he's like, no, you don't have to pay more. You've already given me enough. So the guy already loves him. And they start grilling him on like kind of the talk of the town. What's the news going around right now? Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, first of all, the Children of Light are here, and they're kind of causing a ruckus. And we'll touch on a little bit of what the Children of Light are, but they're not good news. Is what
not good news. Well, we'll touch on the Children of Light next episode.
Yeah. And so
did we want to mention the breaking of the world in this episode?
Yeah. Wonder if we should save that for the end. I'm going to cut all this part out.
Cut this and put it at the end.
Okay. So they start. So as they're talking to him, and he also mentions that he heard about a battle in Giladon, and that the Dragon Reborn has won a battle there, and it sounds like he's on his way down to Tyr. I think it's a town called Tyr or something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
And what's his name? Tom MacLeod. He mentions like he's like, is this the Carithian cycle? And he tells Rand about this old legend about how the dragon proves it to the world that he's the dragon or she's the dragon. It's when they go to this city called Tyr, the dragon has to destroy this very specific stone that's on Tyr. And Tyr is like the city in the south of the map, I think, somewhere. And they're making their way there. So I think we're just getting a little bit of an overview of what his campaign, this dragon's campaign is looking like. It looks like they're on their way down to Tyr.
Yeah.
And then and then they come they go in, they thank the guy, they go in and they find the nearest inn, and they're welcomed in by a guy named Master Fitch.
Good old Master Fitch.
And that wraps up this chapter.
I mean, it's a slow chapter. It's one of these talking chapters.
Yeah, like I said, like this is probably one of the first chapters that it's covering a couple of days, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So these chapters kind of have to happen, but I think we learned a lot. Like the specific thing I think to take away from here is the Tyr thing. Where the dragon's campaign is kind of leading to. They just don't know exactly what the plan is for this dragon. They don't know what this dragon's goal is yet. But he has an army and he's winning. So that could be good. That could not also be good.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing in this one too was Moraine. Moraine mentioned another person who could channel.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, while she's talking with Egwene, she's like, "You're one of the two strongest that I felt in the two rivers," or something like that. And
yeah.
Egwene's like,
so it's like, who's that other?
And she starts naming off names, and Moraine doesn't give a name. I don't think she does.
Nope, she does not tell.
Which it makes me guess that she's gonna play a part later. There's gonna be another Aes Sedai coming from two rivers.
There's 14 books. There definitely is going to be.
I mean, there's gotta be more stuff. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up this chapter, and we'll get back.
Well, at the end of this chapter, they do show up at the Stag and Lion.
Yes.
Which sets us up for tomorrow's episode of chapter 14, The Stag and the Lion.
The Stag and Lion!
It's another one of those chapters where they show up at a thing, and then that thing is the name of the next chapter.
Yeah, and boy, now we get back into our regular schedule programming of like this is the thing, and now they go to sleep, and they go to this, and it just follows kind of like the trail, the action very, very closely. But yeah, that's the chapter that we'll be getting into tomorrow. Right now, we should probably take a look at what the breaking of the world is, because the breaking of the world is a big event that kind of solidifies this whole world, this whole universe in a way.
Yeah, the breaking of the world is a very significant event, and it ties back to what we were saying earlier in this episode with Egwene asking about the male Aes Sedai and the female Aes Sedai and the corruption of power and who's evil and who's not.
Yeah.
So without further ado, let's take a look at the old glossary. When Lews Therin Telamon and the 100 companies released the Dark One's prison, the counterstroke, tainted Sayadine, eventually Every male Aes Sedai went horribly insane. In their madness, these men, who could wield the one power, to a degree now unknown, changed the face of the earth. They caused great quakes, leveled mountain ranges, raised new mountains, lifted dry land where seas had been, made the ocean rush and land in where dry land had been. Made the ocean rush in where dry land had been. Many parts of the world were completely depopulated, and the survivors were scattered like dust on the wind. This destruction is remembered in stories, legends, and history as the breaking of the world.
That more or less covers this chapter for today. And yeah, we'll be back in tomorrow with chapter 14, The Stag and Lion.
Yeah, thanks for listening. We'll see you guys tomorrow.